And we're back with tax experts Ryan Dodson and Kevin Robinson. They're answering your questions about tax filing and what's different about this season. So we've already gotten a lot of text messages in from viewers. I'll go ahead and start with this one. Are there tax breaks for first-time home buyers this year?
Stacy, unfortunately, a lot of those are not, they don't exist anymore. So the quick answer to there is no. However, way back when we had the Great Recession, the answer would have been yes, but unfortunately not this year.
Okay. What about this one? Do you have to file taxes if you were claimed as a dependent?
That's a good question, Stacy. But in essence, for example, if a dependent was a college student, they had a summer job and they got a W-2 with some tax withheld, then even though they are claimed by their parents as a dependent on the return, they may want to file taxes being claimed as their parents' dependent, but basically hopefully get the tax withheld back, some of that on as a refund. So it is good to go ahead and even if you're claimed as a dependent, if you have enough income to file taxes, then I would go ahead and file.
And I have a follow-up to that. Does that mean that you have to, or is it if you want to when you're a dependent?
Well, typically their income may be low enough where they don't have to, but if they've had, they may just be filing to get a refund back of the tax withheld. Again, the case of a college student and a summer job, so their income may be so low that the federal and or state tax that was withheld may come back to them as a refund. So it would be a good idea to get that back and maybe have a little extra spending money, for example, for the college student.
Oh yeah, and I think it's probably good that they learn earlier rather than later on how to do this, because that's something that I was never taught in college or in school, so I think it's important to go ahead and learn. Okay, switching gears here, another question from a viewer. Do companies have a deadline to send out W-2s for employees?
Yes, Stacy, they do. That deadline is coming up in a few days. It is January the 31st this year. So that is the day they have to make them all available, which also means they could even just be placing them in the mail on the 31st, and that counts as meeting the deadline. And then you have to wait on the United States Postal Service for you to receive it. That may take a day, that may take a few days.
Okay, so if it's been a little bit and you haven't gotten it yet, what should you do?
So if you haven't received it, by all means, contact your employer. The great news with a lot of employers now is that they make these W-2s available online, typically through some type of online portal. So if you contact your employer, they may be able to give you access to that portal where you can go in and you can download those W-2s.
That's good to know. Is Social Security income taxable?
Well, that's a very good question, Stacy. And I guess the key to in all of this is just the honest answer is it depends. And if they have enough other sources of income, for example, all their other sources of income, say a single person is around 25,000, then it's possible that part of that Social Security income could go back as taxable income. So again, it depends on their income level and all their sources grouped together. But if it's just Social Security only, then most likely it won't be taxable. But you mix in other income, there is a possibility that it could be.
So we just got a question in that kind of follows up to when we were talking about dependents, but someone said our sons are now in college and we don't claim them as dependents. Do we need to list them on our taxes, and what happens to college expenses we paid?
Well, if you do want to claim the college expenses or get eligible for the college credits on your tax returns, you are going to have to claim your kids on your tax return in order to be able to do so. So it is highly recommended for you to do so. However, look, if you have any questions, come and sit down with a tax professional. We'll walk you through every single one of those steps and which one is the most, is the most tax advantage way to do it, of course, staying within the laws.
I think this is a good one. What do first-time filers need to know for this year?
Well, basically, one thing to keep in mind is that the sooner they can get their return e-filed, then obviously for the federal at least, hopefully the sooner their refund will be on its way. But it can prevent identity theft, to keep that in mind. And then, basically to take advantage of, maybe there's some credits like or the adjustments like the credit for or the deduction for charity. So it would be good to talk to their tax professional to look at some things that maybe they haven't had before. But factor all that in, and then the sooner the better, then they can at least get the federal refund on its way if they're due one.
All right, Kevin, Ryan, thank you both so much for joining us this evening and answering all those questions. A lot of good questions answered. I actually learned some myself. So if you missed any of this information, you can find it all on our website in the 2 Wants to Know section. We'll be right back.